AI censorship targets people who read primary sources to fact check the news. So now, because I'm always telling people, don't take my word for it. Do your own due diligence. Do your own fact check. Look into the primary sources yourself. Look into it yourself. Now AI is going to target you for doing such because they don't want you to go and look at the stuff yourself. They want you to believe in the propaganda. They want you to listen to the party line. They want you to listen to the mainstream media. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Now, this comes from The Federalist. Joy Pullman, and she reports that NewsGuard announced last week it's using AI to automatically prevent American citizens from seeing information online that challenges government and corporate media claims about elections ahead of the 2024 voting season. I mean, just utter ridiculous. So don't go and research this yourself. Listen to what we say about these things. That's what they're telling you. And if anyone is telling you not to do your own research, then they're more than likely lying to you or trying to set you up or trying to feed you some bullcrap. Well, platforms and search engines, including Microsoft Bing, use NewsGuard's ratings to stop people from seeing disfavored information sources, information, and topics in their social media feeds and online searches. And that's why I use my own feeds. I have my own feed, my own news stuff, and I can go and read from different sources. Let me show you an example of it really quick. Let's see here. Here we go. This is Microsoft here, but this is what I use. Here we go. This is ProtoPage, which is really, really good. You can basically take whatever news, whenever, even if I find something new, a new website, I put it on here. Any type of news sites, I just have them linked right here, like Zero Hedge, Just the News. We got the Gateway Pundit. This is how I get my news. Fox Business. Red State, everything. Washington Examiner, Washington Examiner, I don't know what's going on over there. But they have some articles that I've definitely been disagreeing with lately. But anyway, Daily Wire, and these are things that I read daily. This is how I get my information. I don't rely on Google. I don't rely on Microsoft Bing. I don't rely on any of these companies to give me news because I know that they are going to censor the important things. That's why I get a lot of these things that most people don't get, because I have all these news feeds, and you can do that yourself. You don't need you don't need to use like Google or anything like that. Okay, where did I leave off at? Now censorship is being deployed not only by humans but also by automated computer code, rapidly raising an iron curtain around internet speech. The NewsGuard rates the Federalist as a quote maximum risk for publishing Democrat disapproved information, even though the Federalist accurately reports major stories about which NewsGuard approved outlet continually spread disinformation and misinformation. I mean, the Federalist is definitely my top 5 list for accurate sources. I don't know, and again, it's because they don't tote the party line. They call out the Democrats for their bullcrap, and of course, NewsGuard can't have that, so they say there's maximum risk. Those have already included the Russia-collusion hoax, the Brett Kavanaugh rape hoax, numerous, narratives pertaining to the stuff that we can't talk about, the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop, and the deadly 2020 George Floyd riots. NewsGuard directs online ad dollars to corporate leftist outlets and away from independent conservative outlets. The organization received federal funding for developing these internet censorship tools that now include artificial intelligence. They should sue. People should sue for this. But quote, the purpose of the taxpayer-funded project is to develop artificial intelligence, powered censorship, and propaganda tools that can be used by governments and big tech to shape public opinion by restricting certain viewpoints and promoting others, says a recent congressional report about AI censorship. These, quote, projects threaten to help create a censorship regime that could significantly impede the fundamental First Amendment rights of millions of Americans and potentially do so in a manner that is instantaneous and largely invisible to its victims. Now, why is it that you don't hear any Democrats talking about this? You don't hear any, it's only Republicans that's talking about the censorship. It's because it's the Democrats that are doing the censoring. That's why they aren't complaining about it. But numerous federal agencies are funding AI censorship tools, including the U.S. Department of State, the subject of a December lawsuit from the Federalist, the Daily Wire, and the state of Texas. The report last month from the House Subcommittee on Weaponization of the Federal Government reveals shocking details about censorship tools funded by the National Science Foundation, one of hundreds of federal agencies. Again, and it's skewed one way. Censor conservative thoughts, anything that's antithetical to our views, to our beliefs, we want to censor that. But it says NSF has tried to hide its activities from the elected lawmakers who technically control NSF's budget, including planning to take 5 years to return open records requests legally required to be returned within 20 to 60 days under normal circumstances. So defund them then. Why are we still giving them money? The NSF and the projects is funded also targeted for censorship media organizations that reported critically on their use of taxpayer funds. Quote, in my dream world, censorship technician Scott Hales told NSF grant makers, people like him would use aggregate data of the speech censored on social media to develop automated detection algorithms that immediately censor banned speech online without any further human involvement. It is crazy. Misinformation that the NSF-funded AI scrubs from the internet includes undermining trust in mainstream media. But what if they get it wrong? Media gets it wrong. The mainstream media gets it wrong the overwhelming majority of the time. The House report says it also works to censor election and vaccine information the government doesn't like. One censorship tool, taxpayer funded through the NSF, quote, sought to help train the children of military families to help influence the beliefs of military families, a demographic traditionally more skeptical of Democrat rule. Of course. And federal agencies use nonprofits they fund as cutouts to avoid constitutional restraints that prohibit government from censoring even false speech. And I talk about this all the time. It's an in round. This is how they get around it because government can't directly censor you, so they use these companies to do it for them. They fund these companies to do it for them. As Foundation for Freedom Online Director Mike Benz told Tucker Carlson and journalist Jan Jikalik, however you pronounce his name, in recent interviews, U.S. intelligence agencies are highly involved in censorship, using it essentially to control the U.S. government by controlling public opinion. And people are so stupid. I mean, look at the whole COVID jab thing. And people are still caping for that. And I'm going to leave that alone. That's all I'm going to say about it. But a lawsuit at the Supreme Court, Murthy versus Missouri, could restrict federal involvement in some of these censorship efforts. Yet, as Benz noted, corporate media have long functioned as a propaganda mouthpiece for U.S. spy agencies. Of course, they have their own offices in some of these places. That relationship has continued as social media displaced legacy media in controlling public opinion. Today, dozens of highly placed big tech staff are current or former U.S. spy agency employees. Many of them manage big tech censorship efforts in conjunction with federal agency employees. Nonprofit censorship cutouts are tip lines to target speech, even on private messaging apps like WhatsApp. AI tools, quote, facilitate the censorship of speech online at a speed and in a manner that human censors are not capable, the House report notes. A University of Wisconsin censorship tool that federal government funded lets censors see if their targets for information manipulation are getting their messages and gauge in real time how their targets respond. A Massachusetts Institute of Technology team the federal government funded to develop AI censorship tools describe conservatives, minorities, residents of rural areas, quote, older adults, and veterans as, quote, uniquely incapable of assessing the veracity of content online, says the House report. So they're saying basically, if you're a minority, if you're a conservative, if you're an older adult or vet, you are an idiot. So we have to curate this content for you, is basically what they're saying. People dedicated to sacred texts and American documents such as the Bible or the Constitution, the MIT team said we're more susceptible to disinformation because they, quote, often focus on reading a wide array of primary sources and performing their own synthesis. So, check this out. So, if you go look into this stuff for yourself, you do your own investigative work, they saying you are more susceptible to disinformation. By being well-rounded, by reading both sides and understanding it for yourself, you are more susceptible to disinformation. I think they got it the other way around. I think they are less susceptible to government propaganda and government disinformation if they do their own research and people do their own investigations into stuff. And that's the problem for them. That's why it's a problem for them. But such citizens, quote, adhere to deeper narratives that might make them suspicious of any intervention that privileges mainstream sources or recognized experts. Because interviewees distrusted both journalists and academics, they drew on this practice of reading primary sources to fact check how media outlets report the news, MIT's successful federal grant application said. Now, people who did this were less likely to believe the federal government's propaganda. That's what I was alluding to, making them prime obstacles to government misinformation. Researchers are targeting people in these categories to figure out how to manipulate them into believing government narratives, emails, and documents in the House report. So this is especially up before the election. Is going to be a lot of propaganda. There's going to be a lot of censorship. So the best way to mitigate this, the best way to manage this, I believe, is to have your own, create your own feed like I did, and have your own trusted news sources with the feeds on there, so you can go in and you can read it yourself and come to your own conclusions instead of listening to this government leftist propaganda and censorship. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.